All right, what's each product? We're multiplying. This one hopefully is really straightforward to you. You're multiplying the positive number 8 times the negative number -1. Anytime you multiply a number by -1, you're going to get the exact opposite. You're going to change its sign to its opposite. So you're multiplying 8 by -1, so it's going to change from 8 to -8. And crossing my fingers that you get that already. Okay? Make that a little smaller. Now, 25, you're multiplying these two fractions. There's a rule that says if you can cancel something on the top and something on the bottom by the same number, you can simplify that fraction before you ever multiply. By the way, if we did multiply first, we would get 50 over 30, and you might be able to say, well, that's easy. I can divide top and bottom by 10. You're right. You could divide top and bottom by 10 and get 5/3, which is that. But, and it doesn't get us a different answer, but if we can divide by 10 over there, we can divide by 10 right now. We can divide these two numbers by 10. And 10 and 10, since they're the same number, are 1. Then when we multiply across, 5 times 1 is 5, 1 times 3 is 3, and you get 5/3. There it is. Yet another way to do this would be to simplify the fraction here 5/10, because it doesn't matter. One number has to be on top, one number has to be on the bottom. It doesn't matter that they're diagonal or anything. You just have to have a number on the top, number on the bottom, and you can divide them by the same thing. And what can we divide these two by? We can divide them by 5. So that becomes a 1, that becomes a 2. Now, the number that you have remaining here, this 2, that can now be canceled as well. This 10 and this 2 are both even numbers, and they can both be canceled by dividing by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And now we've canceled by 10 in 2 steps. We've divided top and bottom by 5 here, and divided top and bottom by 2 here. So 5 times 2 is 10. That's the 10 that you eventually divided by. So now if we were to just multiply straight across, we'd say, okay, then 1 times 5 is 5. And 1 times 3 is 3. And there's your 5/3. That's D. We get that multiple ways. Okay, last one. We're squaring this number. If you square a number, and you can see that we're squaring -1.1, okay? If we're squaring it, we've got to multiply it by itself, and so we're going to do a negative times negative, which will be a positive. We already know it's going to be positive, so I'm just going to worry about multiplying by 1.1 times 1.1. Now, 1.1, that's pretty close to 1. So it's pretty close to multiplying 1 times 1, which is 1. So we should get a number that's close to 1. And the reason that I say that is, like, watch, let's multiply. 1 times 1 is 1, times 1 is 1, 0 placeholder. This 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 1 is 1. Now when you sum them, you get that. You've got to place the decimal. If you were confused and you brought the decimal straight down, you might place it there. But remember, this is pretty close to 1, and this is pretty close to 1. So 1 times 1 is 1. So something just a little bit above 1 for each one will get us not too far away from 1. So we can see that that decimal is not in the right place. That's way too big. Okay, what do we want to do? What do we want to do? We want to count the number of digits behind a decimal in the whole problem. There's 1 here and 1 here for a total of 2. So our decimal is going to have 2 digits behind it, and it'll be right there. And it'll be 1.21. And remember, negative times negative is positive. Anytime you square a number, you get a positive number. So we get positive 1.21. And we're done.